Okay.
What is up, fellow benchwarmers? Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Benchwarmers. It's the preseason, and we've got news for you today. My name is JJT with our Commish Eric. Finally, Commish, we have the news that everyone's waiting for. Well, not not really what everyone was expecting, but I guess somehow KD decided to stay with the Brooklyn Nets.
I think he was forced to stay because there really were no deals there that Brooklyn liked, and their owner was had bigger balls than we all gave him credit for. Credit. Joe Tsai is the first owner that really stood up against the superstars and didn't want to be forced to make deals just to appease KD. But a lot of experts did predict that KD will start the year still in Brooklyn. But there will be a chance he will be traded sometime this season. But I think he might stay through the year, at least for this year. At least for this year.
Now, we talked about KD uh, in the last episode, and that was hours before this announcement came out.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about the value of KD fantasy wise, with the assumption that he might be traded, or there's this, hanging question of whether he will be traded or not. Now that there's a little more certainty here, we don't know if he's going to be staying until the end of the season. But let's say, at this point, what's the value of KD? Where do we value KD now in fantasy terms?
I think he can be top five. I really think he can be top five. It depends on how you analyze the situation. I believe he's gonna be motivated. He's not gonna be sulking like Harden. And that's not KD. That's not how he is. He's not like Harden or Kyrie or those other players. He's a baller, as he said. He likes to hoop. He likes to play. So now that he's decided to stay, and he actually one underrated thing here is that he has a strong team. He's not staying, and then Brooklyn might be just a seventh, eighth seed play in or whatever. They're top two or three in the East, so I think that's gonna motivate him even more. So I think he's gonna have a big year unless he gets injured, of course, which is very possible. I still think he's top five at this point. I think
Right.
he's top five.
Top five, but would you be willing to take the risks and get him there within the top five? The highest, do you think? Because initially we said that the fluctuation of a KD value in fantasy has been from 2 to 8, right? Or
Yeah,
somewhere within those draft positions.
I,
2 would
I
be a good spot. I mean, like we said, other next to Jokic, there's really no clear number 2.
yes, but for me personally, I really am more comfortable with Giannis and Luka this year. Because of the youth, because of also everything else, less risky. I'm not that kind of a
Everything except
uh,
I guess, the free throw percentage.
yeah, but I think if they play the way they play, and you punt free throws or maybe build a good team around them, they're worth the number two or number three. You're not sacrificing anything if you go to them over KD. So I would choose those three still: Jokic, Giannis, and Doncic, Luka over KD. It will start basically with Embiid, I guess. Embiid, Harden, KD, those three. It's up to your taste already because Embiid is also injury prone, right? So I can see going with KD over Embiid because they're both injury prone, and I really think KD will bounce back this year. So it's up to you. It's up to you what kind of team you want. Because if you get KD, he's a stud.
If you
We
if
know
it
that there's no
Yeah,
holes.
we know that. But if you really, it's really interesting. Other than maybe the top three that we mentioned, Giannis, Jokic, and Luka, and maybe you can put in there Carl Anthony Towns with a little more certainty in terms of their value at least. The rest of the guys are quite questionable. Like we said, the 12 to 14 spot really would put you in a very hard position on which players to decide. Now the middle of the pack seems unclear as well. Right? Do you go with KD? Do you go with Harden? Well, Harden is probably the safest guy there, who's shown more durability over the past few years. But that's going to be a tough position starting from maybe the 4 or 5 position, right?
But it's tough. But I think there are lots of good choices there. You can go Steph, even Steph. We hate on Steph, but still Steph, right? Embiid, Harden, as you said. So Tatum, even Trey. Trey still is also a viable pick around those range. So at least 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think you're good.
If you think about it, if you're in the 4, 5, 6, do you get Trey over Embiid or KD just because of better availability?
It's possible. I could see that because we're playing head to head. We're playing. It's important. It doesn't matter if per game they're really better than Trey if they're not gonna play half of the season, right?
Yeah.
And the schedule of Trey is not bad. It's also not bad. It's okay. It's not good, but it's not bad. So that's another thing there. Although he has DeJounte, we know that there's the DeJounte factor. But still, if you just want no stress, no headache, I think Trey is solid first pick this year. First round pick, I mean. A solid first round pick. So yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah. I actually can't wait for drafts to start. I mean, we haven't really started drafts in our leagues, but looks like this is going to be a very interesting draft season for us, with lots of uncertainties. All right, let's move on to more news. Do you want the bad news first? Maybe we start off with the trade.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the trade so we can, better transition to the season preview of some of the teams. Patrick Beverley going to the Lakers for Talen Horton-Tucker, and who's the other guy? Stanley Johnson.
Yeah, Stanley Johnson.
So what's your take? Who's moving up the fantasy ranks? Who's moving down?
Stanley Johnson. No, of course.
Stanley Johnson was a viable fantasy option late last year. Right?
It's really hard to see what will happen with the players here because I really feel I said this to you guys that I feel that there's another move coming. I don't believe that Rob Pelinka would make this move without another move to trade Russell Westbrook. I just can't see how that locker room will be with the Westbrook and Pat Bev situation. It's gonna be crazy. So, but without knowing those things, I think it's Talen Horton-Tucker. Of course, he's a big winner here. Is he gonna be a 9th round, 10th round guy? Not at this point because there's still Donovan Mitchell, Clarkson, Conley. They're still all there, but before the season starts, all those 3 guys might be out, might be gone. So, they have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, if people forget, and they have THT, and then they have a bunch of nobody. Depends on who they get if they trade Donovan and everybody else. So, if the moves fall his way, THT could be a good 11th or 12th round, maybe later pick.
Yeah, still that far, huh? I mean, 11th round still. Well,
it depends.
It's a very, I think, a little overrated when it comes to potential.
Yes, I agree. But he will get his chance. He will get his chance here in Utah.
Especially if Donovan Mitchell moves somewhere else. How about Pat Beverley? He was good last year.
I'm not. He was good, but Pat Bev is a guy that I will never draft. Not because he's not good, but because he gets injured. This is very underrated about Pat Bev. He gets injured all the time, but not the ACL kind, the major injury kind. It's just like a sprained ankle here, sprained ankle there, hamstring here. He'll miss 2-3 games, come back and play very well, and then come back and then get injured again. It's annoying, and he's gonna be dropped. Whoever picks him when he gets injured, you'll drop him, right? That's my thing. He's gonna be dropped. So why waste a draft pick on him? Can pick him up in the FA sometime in the season. It's impossible. He's gonna play 82 games. Impossible.
And
So
he's not
yeah,
even he's not a very high potential type of
yeah.
fantasy player.
He's like a Caruso, but a poor man, old man Caruso maybe. Less, more crazy, older Caruso. But again, he gives you 3 steals. That's it. So yeah, he's gonna be useful. He's gonna still be useful, but I don't think it's worth drafting this season. I don't think it's worth drafting.
So fantasy wise, nothing really exciting there.
THT, I think.
I'm not too excited. I mean,
THT, someone, if when it's draft time and they haven't traded Donovan, you can pick him the last pick of the draft, and then just
I doubt he's gonna get there.
He will if there's no trade.
No,
if there's no trade.
even if there's no trade, I think he will be. People would think that, oh, it's THT and this is his chance. Utah's tanking. Everyone will think this is the breakout year for THT, and it could be, but I don't think he will get to that last draft pick for a lot of teams. I think maybe some would try to get him maybe the 10th round, 11th round, maybe. I mean, outside the 100, but still, I think
if you do that, I would caution you against doing that because you would lose the value in picking him. As you said, as Jeremy said it very well, he's a little overrated.
Overrated.
Yeah,
overrated.
It's a little overrated.
We don't know. It might have been just the system. The Lakers system is not a good fit for his style of play, but he is a scorer, and pretty much that's it. Nothing, no other stats to contribute. So yeah, so draft with caution. I know everyone's hype. I'm pretty sure everyone's thinking it's the breakout year, especially if Donovan gets traded. But let's see. Yeah, I'm not too high on him.
The THT is the guy that, if you haven't seen him play, his value is higher because he's like a gift that you haven't opened it. It's like cards. If you haven't opened your cards yet, it's like you're excited. But when you open it already, okay, this is it. the mystery is gone. I think that's what THT is. And I feel like the Laker fans, Laker Nation, had a big effect on it. If he was drafted by any other team, nobody would care about him. Yeah. But because he's with the Lakers, he was hyped up.
And now Laker fans, including us, are scratching our heads, right? I mean, all they got for THT was Patrick Beverley, who's, he's been rumored to be offered or at least asked by other teams, right? Inquired by other teams, and the Lakers didn't want to give him up now. But like you said, there might be some other moves here that the Lakers are trying to make. It seems like Russell Westbrook might not be a Laker by the end of the season.
Yeah. And another thing, I'm following a lot of Laker insiders and reporters. Reportedly, THT, if he wasn't traded, wasn't really going to be part of the rotation. Not going to be significantly part of the rotation, given the roster right now. That's the rumor. So I think if you look at it that way, the Lakers, got at least a good veteran, culture, locker room presence, dog, as they say, that can help the team, and help the team for someone they will probably not be using this year. Yeah. And if they kept THT through the season and not use him, his value might drop even further. So I think in that sense, maybe this deal was good for them. It was the right timing at this point.
Yeah.
The last chance.
So let's see what happens in the next few days and see if there are moves. Because like you said, the domino has fallen already. The KD domino has fallen. I don't think there's a lot of interest in Donovan Mitchell. So that's probably the next big one we're going to be waiting for, and maybe to see what the Lakers would do in the next few days or weeks before the start of the season. Now, the biggest news, I guess, for today or yesterday was Chet Holmgren could have a significant injury. I don't think it was definite that he'll be missing a lot of time. Just said that, he might have a tear in his foot during that crossover game that they had. So
Did you see the play? We
yeah,
posted it.
I saw the play. I didn't think it was anything really that's worth a major injury, I guess. But because he just jumped up right with LeBron, he didn't really even fall to the ground or what. He landed on his feet, and he just grimaced and held on to his leg or tried to limp it off. But yeah, so we don't know the timetable. We don't know how long he might miss time or the severity of this injury. What now happens to the value of Chet? We talked about him saying that he might be top 50 pick. Now where do you go? How do you risk? Do you risk even getting him?
Well, now I'm more cautious because even if this is a minor injury, you saw the play. It was, as you said, it wasn't anything significant. I mean, LeBron wasn't really being LeBron. He did body him up, but not, I'm sure not like what he would do if it was a regular season game or a playoff game. So given that, as Jeremy said the last time out, he doesn't see how Chet would last a season. I mean, not even, let's say, a season. How he will last, let's say, 30 games, 20 games. How will he last that long when he's already, he didn't even last a pro-am game, even at an exhibition game. I'll pass. I mean, unless he's outside top 100 and he's still there, which I doubt, and Jeremy also doubts, even with the injury. Let's say they say it's just a 1 or 2 month thing. It's just August. Even if they say it's a 3-month thing and he's going to be back by Christmas, I'm sure a lot of people will pick him early, let's say 80, 90, and then put him in the IL and then say, I have a high upside IL guy. So yeah, let them do that. Me, I don't see it this year if his body is not matured yet. It's gonna be a headache also, so I'm gonna pass.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not too high on Chet, but yeah, like I said, 80, 90 might be a good position for him, or 70 the earliest.
Even now?
No, now I'm probably staying away. And like we said, he's in OKC, and OKC is one of the more, well, not really one of the most conservative when it comes to their players, especially now that they have good core, young core, and they want to preserve it. Who's not yet ready to win, I guess, not yet there, right? They have a good young core in Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren, SGA, but they're not really the playoff type of team yet because they're too young.
Yeah,
so they'll preserve
I'm just gonna be a doctor here again. I'm researching stuff. They said ligament tear in the foot.
Yeah.
And if I remember it correctly, that was the same injury that CJ McCollum had 2 years ago when he sprained his foot, and then it turned out to be a sprained foot with ligament tears.
Yeah.
That cost him, I think, 2 months.
Was it last
3
year?
months?
Was it 2 years ago or
Not last year? The other year. The year before that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm researching. Yes, it's a ligament tear is basically a sprain that is more severe. So it could be weeks, but it could be months also. So it really depends on the next update. But I'm assuming he'll be out at least until November, maybe. I'm assuming around those dates.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Well, I'm staying away. And I'm just not sure if this affects his dynasty rookie draft position.
I'll pick him in dynasty. I'll pick him, and he's gonna be. No, not as the first pick. I'm gonna pick him because I feel like he's gonna be value in dynasty. Like if you have, he might drop.
If you're talking about a rookie draft, right? Because it's a dynasty league, most likely they're just gonna be drafting rookies. He's still the first pick there. for you?
No, for me, no. Now, given what happened now, maybe Paolo Banchero moves up, but he's probably gonna be top three, still top three, because it's a dynasty situation, and this is not really an ACL, Achilles tear, or whatever. It should be just foot sprain, but could be top two, still top two. But a lot of managers might be spooked by this, and you might somehow fall. Then you bounce if that happens.
Yeah.
If he somehow falls because of this injury in dynasty formats, I mean.
Yeah. So yeah, there we talked about Chet Holmgren, and now it's a good segue to we'll kick off some of the team previews, looking at the depth chart and analyze the depth chart. So with the Chet Holmgren news, we'll probably start off with OKC, and talk about their depth chart and see who are the players to watch out for. Hold on, let me just fix this. Okay. So
I think we could find before we did the who's the best fantasy option, and then maybe a sleeper and maybe a bust if we have on each team after we scan the depth chart. Maybe you can go ahead. OKC, I think we're in accordance to who is the best player here, right?
Is it SGA?
I guess. I guess it's SGA. So there. I mean, the question with SGA really this year is how high are you comfortable in picking him?
Yeah,
probably
second round.
Will you?
Third.
I'm giving you the question.
I had SGA in one of my teams. He was actually good last year. I think last year was pretty good year compared to the 2 years ago. Relatively healthy last year. Wasn't really shut down too early. I think it was Josh Giddey who was shut down very early, to the dismay of everyone, and it was a surprise shutdown. It wasn't even something that everyone was expecting. So I think maybe third round last year. I think he went early third to mid third. I think he still goes there. He's still very solid. I think there's no one really here in OKC who's gonna play. I think it's two players are the most sure thing here: Josh Giddey and SGA.
Yeah, if you want sure thing, I think both of them are the sure thing. For me, I think he's top 30. SGA will be top 30. I might be the minority. I don't see him resting another year, even if there's tanking or not tanking. I think unless there's a real injury, he will play through some. Of course, he will be resting. He will be resting certain games, back-to-backs maybe in the end. But he will at least end the season playing. So I think top 30. If we get him outside the top 30, I think he's a good pick there. It's a value pick outside the top 30. If you can get him outside the top 30.
Now, Josh Giddey is a player that everyone's raving about. I mean, even the peers. I've seen some interviews, summer league interviews, or some podcasts that they're talking about Josh Giddey being the guy that looks really good during the summer league. But of course, it was the summer league. He looked good enough, I guess, last year. Did he live up to the hype last year? Because he was a little bit hyped last year.
I will say no. I will say
no. He was a little bit hyped by you as well.
Yes. I liked him. I liked him a lot. And yeah, he didn't disappoint. He wasn't a bust for me, but he didn't live up to my expectation because of the percentages. When I saw more and more games, and then I saw his percentages, free throw, field goal, and the turnovers also, I kinda changed my mind a little bit because it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough because he doesn't steal as much. As a rookie, he wasn't stealing or blocking. So if he hurts you in free throw and field goal, even with elite assists, it's still not enough. This year, my question for Josh Giddey, not the minutes. I think he's gonna be their point guard from day one. He's gonna be triple-double alert again. But will the free throws improve? Will the field goal improve to at least respectable levels before we pick him? Now, he's 50 something in Yahoo in the first update. I didn't see the second update yet. What his ranking there? It means he's going to be ranked rather high by Yahoo. So if that is the case, I might have a hard time picking him if he goes to top 60 or 70. Maybe not yet. not this year for me.
All right. So the point guard pretty much is Josh Giddey. Shooting guard Shea. I think small forward Lou Dort is there. But this is really the small forward position is more of the one that's really for the taking, I guess, up for grabs. Because although Lou Dort is the main guy there, I don't think Aaron Wiggins is too far off. He showed some nice games last year, and we were even surprised he wasn't even used as much. Kenrich Williams is another guy who's solid. So maybe this small forward position would be something that's going to be up for grabs.
But I'll interrupt you because Woj just said that just posted about Chet Holmgren is going to miss the whole season. The whole season with the Liz Frank injury to his right foot. So he's going to be out.
So he's going to be out for the whole season?
At least we caught it before we ended our pod, and just exactly
exactly
we're talking
here.
about OKC.
Yeah.
Perfect timing. This is big. At least we have clarity now. He's going to be out for the season. This is a bummer for anybody who drafted early and picked him early. That's why you don't draft early. But
but this is an injury. I think this sucks because he injured it not even in a significant game, right? It's even just an exhibition game.
Yes. Well, I can't. I don't know what to say, but we did predict. You did predict this. You did say he's gonna get injured, but I'm.
But not this early. I don't even. Not even expect him to get injured in a exhibition game that's not even a scheduled one. But it was a big exhibition game. But well, now Chet Holmgren's out. Looks like the center position in OKC is up for grabs as well. But Jeremiah Robinson Earl was, I guess, is the guy here to watch out for. Last year he played well.
Right now, it's too wide open for me. JRE is okay, but the upside is kind of boring or low for him. So I'm not really. He's gonna get the chance, but Jalen Williams, the rookie, could also get some minutes there. And Mike Muscala, even Favors. I know he's a veteran, but they could give him some games. So it's gonna be a mess, that center position. The small forward you just mentioned a while ago. I actually, of course, Lou Dort is there, but I like Jalen Williams, the rookie who's in the shooting guard position here in the depth chart here. But he's actually he could play small forward. I like him. He's my sleeper in this group. It's Jalen Williams, not Jalen, but Jalen can also now, get sleeper attention because of Chet's injury. But Jalen Williams, I feel like he's gonna overtake Lou Dort sometime this season. He's somebody you have to look closely. Jalen Williams.
Yeah. Darius Baisley. Let's move to the power forward quickly. Darius Baisley is a guy that played well last year, better than 2 years ago. Versus Pokusevski at the power forward. Pokusevski is probably a poor man's Chet Holmgren, an injury waiting to happen. Although in fairness to him, he's still very durable at this time, even with significant minutes from different games. Baisley, clear starter here?
I think Baisley will start, but I think Poku is the right guy to target. Poku, I see his body starting to fill up. I mean, the summer league, he doesn't look as thin as before, and he's starting to be more comfortable also. And he played well. He played well in the summer league. Not that well, but fantasy wise for me, he showed his upside. Steals, the blocks, the 3-pointers. He's the guy I will target if you want to target someone at the power forward, not Paisley. I would get Poku. It could be a late round flyer pick here, especially with Holmgren out again. A lot of minutes opening up with that news. So it's Poku for me over Paisley.
Yeah, to be honest, for me, only two guys are interesting for me: Josh Giddey and Shea. The rest, maybe late round flyers outside the 100 or maybe the last pick. I don't know. I'm not really as interested with the other guys. Poku maybe, but like you said, it's a late round flyer for me. No real sleeper for me because I don't know the other guys, to be honest. So, but I'll take Commission's word for it about Jalen Williams. So yeah, that's the OKC depth chart analysis. Let's move on now to Houston depth chart. We picked three teams who we feel wouldn't really make too much changes anymore. At least some of the guys here are pretty much set. Houston traded Christian Wood, so that opens up a bit of some interesting positions. I know the center is the most enticing here, but this Houston team has a lot of good potential fantasy producers with KPJ, Jalen Green, right, and Alperen Sengun.
Yes, it's hard to find who you think will be the best fantasy option here. That is not like OKC; it's really SGA. In Houston, it's up for grabs. Will you take Sengun over Jalen Green? I think it's between the two of them. It's been between the two of them. Who do you think is the fantasy star here? Is it Green or Sengun for you?
I'll probably say it's gonna be Green this year. Maybe later this season, Sengun shows a little bit more, but yeah, Sengun will probably be drafted higher though.
Yes, I can see that. I can see Sengun. Well, maybe not in the Philippines because it's Jalen Green. So maybe Jalen Green gets picked higher here in the Philippines. But overall, it could be Sengun. But it will be close. They will be very near. My prediction is they're gonna be just in the same round, Sengun and Green. Who will finish higher? I think it's Sengun for now. I think it's Sengun. We saw what he can do last year. There's nobody else here unless they suddenly start really Cody Stein or anybody over him or timeshare between Boban.
Crazy, and this will drive the fantasy managers crazy if they decide to start Willie Cody Stein or Garuba or Boban over Sengun. For sure, Sengun would be one of the guys. Now that Holmgren is out, I think this is the next guy that many would really be hyped about. Sengun. He was so hyped last season. I think he disappointed a lot as well. Now
not his fault though. Not his fault.
Well, not his fault, but still, it's not his fault. But still, I mean, he was drafted. He was kept a little too long by a lot of managers.
Yeah, because he did. It's like this. Before the season, people were hyping him. A lot of us were really knew what he could do because he already was 18 or 19 but playing Turkish League MVP and everything. So we know what he can do and the passes, and he's an exciting player to watch. So that is hard. That's why it's hard to let go of someone who has high potential. And then that in reality, in the real basketball sense, the team doesn't want to rush him. They wanted to play it slowly. That was the problem last year.
Yeah.
So this year I think he's gonna be more prepared, more ready. So I think he can go 70s, he can go 80s, can go that high. Especially if they announce him as a starter at center. But there are this Houston team has a lot of interesting players. Jabari Smith, of course.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, how do you see Jabari Smith with Houston and in his first year?
if you read my post in the summer league and during the draft, you can sense I like him because he's a guy who really defends very well. He's a versatile defender, and with that, you know what he can give: steals, blocks. Right? He didn't shoot the ball well in the summer league. He was outshone by Banchero and Chet Holmgren because they had the highlight plays, they had the offensive, everything. But Jabari was solid. If the outside shot falls, I think he can fight for the number one rookie spot in fantasy. So I like Jabari. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I want some Jabari Smith this year.
No, it's gonna be easier now that Chet is out, so at least Jabari and Banchero would have more attention when it comes to the drafts. But do you think he still gets into the top 100 or maybe 120?
I don't see him getting to the top 100. So far I've been doing mock drafts. I don't see him getting there. I didn't see him there at least. I see Banchero, I see Chet, but I don't see him. Now that Chet is out, maybe. Because there are managers who are targeting rookies. There are managers who love rookies. Now that Chet is out, outside of Banchero, it's Jabari, right? He's the next guy. So I can see him get to the top 100 eventually as a season. If your draft is near the start of the season, I think that is possible. But 120, definitely. He's in the top 120, for sure. For sure. He should not fall beyond that. That's already a steal for me.
Right.
Jabari.
Any other guy here that you think would surprise us?
Tari Eason, small forward. And it's another rookie. I said Jalen Williams, but Tari Eason, he played in that Seattle Pro-Am. In Summer League, he was so good. He was one of the top rookies, top performers, not even top rookie, one of the top performers in the Summer League. If you follow his college career, he's an all-around guy. He can just play. He just knows how to play. And I won't be surprised if, middle of the season, Joyshawn Tate loses his starting position and Tari Eason becomes a starter. Especially if they're already tanking. So he's a sleeper guy for me here. Outside of that, I'm gonna go back to Jalen Green. I see the progression in Jalen Green. He played well late last year, so I'm hoping for an Anthony Edwards leap for him. The way Anthony Edwards improved further in the sophomore season, so I think Jalen Green is another guy that we can target and we can target aggressively this year.
Yeah, many expected him to pull off in Anthony Edwards type of season towards the end, but he came close, a little close. He came close to it. So that was good. He did start off well. So maybe, sophomores, like we said before, the progression from a rookie to a sophomore usually are really huge when it comes to the development because they've had 1 year under their belt. So these players like Jalen Green, Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, these guys, Cade, will definitely, there will be lots of improvement to their game for sure.
My question for you is KPJ. How do you see KPJ?
Not a fan.
Another of our favorites here. Do you see any change, improvement, or whatever this year from what he is the past few years?
I'm safe. I'm a risk averse type of player manager when it comes to drafting players, and KPJ is not one of those players that you draft and without understanding the risk. Right, the risks are high. Last year, even with some good games, managers were willing to drop him. He was actually what we call the deal breaker in trades, right? Some managers offered him in a package just to ship him out, just to get rid of him. And sometimes he becomes the deal breaker, wherein the other manager would not want to take the deal because KPJ was added. So
inefficiency. Because of the inefficiency.
Yeah, because of the field goal, right? The turnovers. Even if you're like punting some of these stats, it's painful to watch the field goal and the turnovers in particular. So
I see improvement though. maybe he's being how do I say it? There's some bias already because of, but he really, I agree with you. He was really hard to own, but he's young, and at the end of the season, we have to agree that there were some improvements. He had some good games. The turnovers a little bit manageable, but if you're in an eight cat league that you disregard turnovers, I think KPJ is someone that value shoots up. So especially if you look at the competition at point guard, I mean, all of these backups are either sophomores, rookies,
Yeah.
or has. So he has no competition. So if you're in an 8-cat league, he's gonna be more of a no-brainer, later in the draft if he falls. But in the 9-cat, it's tough. It's really tough.
We always say you can pair him up with maybe Russell Westbrook. Right? I mean, that was the strategy. If you had Russell Westbrook, maybe you could pair him up there, or maybe a young, or maybe pair him up with someone who shoots a little better when it comes to the field goal. So at least
I do think if you have a very guard heavy first few picks, KPJ is solid late in your drafts. Let's say you started with Trey, and you added some more turnover heavy guards. I think KPJ will be more appealing and just punt turnovers at that point. So it depends on the strategy, but just don't disregard him just because it's KPJ. That's just my point. I think being a young player compared to Russell Westbrook, there could be improvements in his game, KPJ.
Yeah, but I will disregard him. For sure. All right, let's move on to the last in this episode, the last depth chart analysis for this episode, the Orlando Magic. Interesting because these three teams have very young core. OKC, Houston, and the Magic. Not really playoff bound teams, but great future when it comes to their players. Now, unlike Houston, unlike OKC, there are very limited options there. Orlando might have some of the very interesting options for you. If you look at the guard position, Fultz and Cole Anthony are very, they're gonna compete for that spot, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be really a tough one to decide on which player goes start, right? And even the shooting guard, small forward, power forward, some of these guys, because they're fantasy producers.
We can change it up a little bit in Orlando. We can put, instead of the best player or the sleeper or the boss, we can just have questions. For me, there are very important questions here. Like number one, Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, as you said. Who wins that battle? I don't know about you. Who do you think will start? But I believe it's going to be Fultz. Do you agree with that, or you're going to go Cole?
Well, I don't know who starts, but I like Fultz more than Cole. So, whether if, I think they won't
fantasy wise or
fantasy wise
in general.
Fantasy wise, okay. I like Fultz more than Cole. I think he can do a lot more. Cole, did really good last year, but he faded a little bit towards the end, maybe because of injuries as well, being banged up. But I don't think it's going to be sustainable for Cole once defenses know what he's going to be doing. Fultz is a bit, for me, has higher ceiling, I guess, fantasy-wise.
Well, I will disagree with you there. I would agree Fultz will start. Basketball-wise, in real basketball terms, I think he's more of a winning player than Cole Anthony. That's why he'll start, in my opinion. But fantasy-wise, I don't like Fultz' game fantasy-wise because of, again, the shooting, the lack of shooting, and then the assists, the steals are there, but outside of that, he doesn't shoot. He doesn't give you threes for point guard, which is something Cole Anthony does give you. Yeah, he faded, but he was top 50 for so long. So I think even if he fades, he should still be okay. if you get him outside the top 100, there's still value there. Maybe.
I don't think Cole would be drafted outside top 100. I doubt that.
Let's see, because we don't know the exact Yahoo ADPs yet or the ranks, but he's not there. Yeah, but right now, of course, it's going to change. But
a lot of managers will probably reach for him just because of his performance last season.
If they do, then bad for them. They should not do that. And then another question here is Jalen Suggs. How does he fit into all of this? He probably one of the most disappointing rookie seasons I've seen in recent memory. Coming off that great college career and that buzzer beater in the Final Four and everything, and then he just bombed. He just bombed last year, and I don't know how he will bounce back from that. Is he a bust or is he?
No, it's too early to call him a bust. I think that's way too early to call him a bust. Fantasy wise, he's shown some good potential, but the problem here, I think, is that, like I said, there are too many young players here that Orlando's gonna try to use. If you look at the potential or the ceiling of some of these guys, I think he's not even there at the top, right? I mean, I think Fultz has better ceiling than him at this point. Maybe, next year it might be different. I think Cole Anthony right now is a more polished player. Franz Wagner has a way better ceiling than Jalen Suggs. So if I think, if you're gonna ask me, is it Banchero or Suggs, then that's gonna be a question that you're gonna be harder, I guess, to answer. But the rest of the guys, I feel, in terms of fantasy value, who do you think?
Oh, Banchero. I mean,
see,
by far.
So fantasy wise, he's probably going to be what, 5th, 6th option even.
Maybe lower. As you said, Cole, Franz, Banchero, Wendell Carter. Then we have. I think fantasy wise, the thing here for me, I think it's Fultz or Suggs. One of them, they're very similar. Then, people will say one is a shooting guard, one is a point guard, but they're very similar in terms of skill set, stat set. They're great defenders, but outside of the steals, that doesn't really matter to us in fantasy. But they're good defense oriented players. But fantasy, well, we don't really measure those things. So for me, it's maybe Wendell, Bamba, Banchero, Wagner, Cole Anthony. So fighting for that 6th or 7th will be Fultz and Suggs.
Yeah.
Fultz and Suggs.
So I think he's far off. I wouldn't be surprised if he won't be drafted.
Yes.
In standard
I don't think he should be though.
Even in 14-team leagues. I don't think he will be drafted there. Franz Wagner, like I said, better option.
Yes, Franz Wagner's better option. Banchero, of course. For me, the number one player here is Paulo Banchero. It's not even a question for me. He's the star of the team. If you look at this team, there's nobody who can create or really score outside of Banchero. They're full of defensive-oriented players. So it's gonna be Banchero.
Franz Wagner showed that he can score.
Yes, but
Cole Anthony showed he can score.
Not at the level of Paulo Banchero, though. So I think they would go to him like Julius Randle did with New York in terms of usage right off the bat. He will start over Isaac, which is another question I have. How will Isaac, fare with the team?
How do you trust Isaac?
Yes, that's another thing. How do you trust Isaac also, and how do you think where does he fit? Because you still see the third guy there in the power forward position, Chuma Okeke. He's another guy who's a good defender who gives you steals, 3-pointers, and everything. Where will he get minutes? I don't know how he will get minutes.
Chuma can play the backup small forward behind Franz Wagner. I don't think Terrence Ross is young enough.
But there's Gary Harris, who also plays small forward.
Well, they can, move him back. I mean, it's not a deep shooting guard position, to be honest. Suggs, Hampton, and Gary Harris are pretty close, I guess, when it comes to, what they can do now. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think Chuma can back up the small forward behind Franz Wagner. We don't even know how Isaac is going to be this year.
How he looks, if he will have minutes restrictions, but
I mean,
it's going to be annoying because
right now
I
my
love
question
OKC.
is, will he play?
He will play. He will play. He's already been cleared, but how long before he gets injured? But it sucks for Okiki. I hope Okiki gets traded sometime this season because he's a real fantasy. His fantasy game is so good. Let's put it that way. And then another question is, of course, the Carter Bamba situation. Who do you pick first? Wendell Carter
I
or Mo
think Wendell
Bamba?
Carter. I think last year Wendell Carter showed really good, I guess, potential, or what we've been waiting for, what we've been looking for during his Chicago days. So I think Wendell Carter is the guy for
But
me ahead of
do you
Bamba.
Bamba was a sleeper last year and he sort of delivered because he kind of faded also end of the season and got injured. Will he be a sleeper again? will do you see him as a sleeper again? Do you see him as as exciting a prospect this year as last year?
Last year there were times he fell out of 100 when it comes to the draft, right? His draft position, especially if you drafted a little early, he really fell way out 100, and that was surprising for me last year. This year I don't think he'll fall out of 100. I think he'll be picked somewhere in the 80s, 70s, just because of, some managers saw, what this guy can do. But the question right now is that last year I think they had a lot of games wherein they started both Carter and Bamba together. Now with Banquero there, I don't think they're gonna do that. So one has to give, and I don't think they're gonna sit Wendell Carter Jr.
Yeah, they could share time. I mean, it could be
Share time, but last year there were a lot of games I think that where Wendell and Mo Bamba started. Bamba was a starter, right, last year.
Yeah, last year he played. I think they played him at power forward, as you said.
Yeah.
And now that we look at this, if Isaac does come back healthy with Banquero and Okiki, even if Okiki tries to get some small forward minutes, there's still just not enough this year compared to last year because of Banquero's entrance. Yeah. So that puts me a little worried about Bamba. I'm a little worried about where he will fit here. So if he's gonna be there, right now it's projected around 70, 60 to 70.
See?
70 something. That's a little high for me given the injury risk.
I think he's going to be picked within the top 100.
Maybe. And another thing is that, yeah, he's going to be picked top 100, but I don't think he will end top 100 in totals.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that he already got his contract, right? That matters. Last year he was not
contract year
signed to an extension, so that matters, especially for Bamba, who has a history of chilling, not really being motivated. Or
well, he's also a guy with a reputation to be injury prone.
Yes.
So every fall that he gets into last season was, managers held their breath with every fall that he took. So that's going to be a risk. So again, I probably would pick him outside 100 if he falls there. Won't be as high on him as I was last year, because one, he faded last season towards the end of the last season, and secondly because of the depth chart. As we see, there's really a lot of players here in Orlando, young, very good potential fantasy wise. So lots of risk as well. I mean, Jonathan Isaac, even, we still don't know if he's going to be, everyone expects him or remembers that Jonathan Isaac was a top, top 50, top 20, top 30 kind of production before he got injured.
But just for on the record, I'm not interested in Jonathan Isaac at any part of the draft. You can take him if you want. Yeah, Jeremy's correct. He's been top 20, top 30 per game, but come on. Come on now.
Last
we
pick,
know, we
last
know.
pick. You're not gonna take a
No,
flyer.
no. There are a lot of great flyers last pick this year. We will maybe discuss them as we go along. But so far today, we talked about Houston. We talked about OKC and Orlando. Here in Orlando, who will last until the last pick that I would like? Maybe no one. In OKC, maybe I would look at the Poku.
Chuma, I think Chuma can, Chuma could be
well,
a last pick flyer.
If this wasn't the depth chart, if Isaac gets injured again, maybe, but it's just too deep. There's just so many. I don't see him getting consistent 20 to 25 minutes, maybe 15, sometimes 20, sometimes lower. So tough for me to get him in the last pick. So far from everything we discussed, I haven't seen a real good last pick.
Yeah, there aren't even good sleepers, right? I mean, if you look at it, there aren't really exciting sleepers. I mean, last year I was really a little high on Mo Bamba, but I was surprised he was drafted outside of 100. Right now, I don't see anyone really. I think I still feel that Fultz would be the guy to bounce back a little bit this year. So if he drops, I might pick him up, especially if he drops outside 100, which I also doubt he would.
He will. Fultz will drop out of 100. I can make that bet with you right now. He's not gonna be.
No, I don't want to make that bet, but yeah, I can make a bet with you on whether Fultz or Cole Anthony ends up higher. Who ends up higher?
Cole. I can make that bet also. I'm 100% sure Cole. I mean, are you talking about the end of the season or during the draft?
End of season.
Yeah,
I draft, I think Cole.
It's still gonna be Cole.
I'll think about that bet.
The question with Fultz is not even where he will be drafted. If he will be drafted at all. I'll say that.
I think he will be drafted.
Not in every draft. I am guarantee you, not in every draft he will be
14
drafted.
teams.
Even in 14 teams, in 12 teams, the more. I mean, we should not even.
Yeah, that's why I started with the 14 teams because maybe in 12 teams he might not be drafted, but in
I
14,
still say Fultz will be the starter because they need Cole Anthony to score off the bench. But fantasy wise, it's Cole over Fultz. I think.
All right. On that note, that's it for the first of many parts in our depth chart analysis. It was we'll talk more about the other teams in the coming weeks as we head into the drafting season. I think probably a few weeks from now, it's gonna be drafting season. Yeah, lots of news today, so getting a little more exciting. That's how we end it, and we'll see you guys again on the next episode. Bye, guys.